Okay, we're holding on Samech Tes Amid Beis. Samech Tes Amid Beis. We're in an interesting, really the main sugya of Bittel, that if one person forgot to make an Erev, he can mevatel his rishus to them. And if he does, they're permitted to go in his chutzner. They're not permitted to go in his house, they're permitted to go in his chutzner. He would even be permitted to go in their houses, because we said he's not a reyach. Conversely, if they're mevatel his rishus to them, then he can't even go in their houses, we said, because 5 are not considered arach number 1. But the rule of thumb over here is that as long as it ends up the rishus of one of them, then it's okay. We saw it then, if two people who made an Erev, they mevatel the rishus to two people who did make an Erev, it doesn't work. So that's where we're up to. We're up to on Samech Tes on the base, 1, 2, 3, 4 lengths to the bottom. If two people would answer on each other, two people who didn't make an Erev, the people mevatel rishus to them who did make an Erev, right? They can't carry. They didn't make an Erev. So pshita. In other words, so let's say we have guys 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 made an Erev, 3 and 4 did not. 1 and 2 mevatel rishus to 3 and 4, and consequently 3 is mevatel rishus to 4. So 4 ends up, guys, with the only game in town. So Pashtus, according to our way of thinking, it should be permitted. He's the only guy there. So I might think Lishteri, I might think that 4 is now able to go ahead and carry there. Kamash Malon, he would the beidna the bottle. Since when 1 and 2 mevatel to 3 and 4, loy havi leisher yusa b'hai chatzer, he wasn't mutter in the chatzah till 3 came along and did it. Therefore, what? He can't carry. That's the chiddush over here. Okay, so arichas. The Mishnah concluded one person can be mevatel and one person can receive. Two people can be mevatel, but two people cannot receive. Right? Two people cannot receive unless if they did make an eruv. We'll see the Gemara. Hasulamali. Why do you have to tell me? Tanina. If you say he can give over his rishus, we learned it already. We said they're mutter to him. We said that he's mutter to them. Tanina, and if it's taking rishus, we also said that, right? That that he can go ahead and receive it. So why do you have to go ahead and the Mishnah go ahead and length the Mishnah some katsu all the time? Why in the world would you have to go speak a length? So the Gemara says sefer tzricha. The chiddush is a sefer. What's the sefer? Shnayim noishn rishus. That two people can be mevatel. Fred the Gemara nami pshita. Why shouldn't two people able to be mevatel? So the Tema the Gemara says Dilma asi livatulele. In other words, if we let two people who didn't make an Erev be mevatel, what would happen? We might say two people be mevatel to them, and we said that's no good. We just said it's no good. Two people who made an Erev could be mevatel. Two people who did make an Erev also could be mevatel. Two people who made an Erev could receive. Two people who did make an Erev cannot receive. So I would think I'm geyser them not being able to mevatel or to them receiving the bittul. Kamash Malon, that what? Not. Kamash Malon, we don't make the Gezerah. That two people who didn't make an Erev, who forgot, can be mevatel the Rishus, and we're not concerned that others will be mevatel to them when they didn't make the Erev, and then that's no good. So Kamash Malon, Dilma Aslev Tulei, Kamash Malon. They ain't Noilan Rishus, they ain't Rishus Lamali. We learned already. Shnayim Ois and Selzeh. Why do you tell me they can't receive a bittul? So tzricha af agav the amrile kinei almanas lahachnos. 1, 2, 3, and 4 guys, right? 3 says to 4. They say, listen, 3, you receive it almanas that 4 should get it. In other words, the first case we learned before is 1 and 2 mevatel to 3 and 4 stamazoi, and then we said 3 now can't be mevatel to 4. What happens if 1 and 2 say to 3? You be mevatel almanas for 4, so like 3 never got it. So it's ending up with one transaction, right? 1 and 2 are saying to 3, you go ahead and receive it for 4. So 3 is not. So Kamash 1 says the Gemara, afagav the ami le knei almanas lahaknois, receive it on the condition to be marked to them of 4. We don't say that. Abai is the final question from Rabbi. Chamisha sharoyim b'chatzar achas. 5 people are living in a chatzar. And and one of them forgot to make an Erev. They're all Jewish. We have no problem. We have a plan B. Plan B, go ahead and be Mevatel. Yeah, even on Shabbos. Kishu Mevatel Meshusai. Says Rabba, Sarach Levatel L'chol Echad Echad. Number 5 has to go over to 4, 3, 2, and 1. Number 5 has to go over to 4, 3, 2, and 1 and say bittel, 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 or mefutel, 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 mefutel. Say that fast, quickly a few times, right? Gone. But you can't go ahead and go over to 4 and say, hey, number 4, you accept the bittel for 3, 2, and 1. That you can't do. Rabbi says you have to mevatel to each and every one of them. Amalei tzarich levatel echad v'echad. Right? So Rabbi answered you have to. So now, Esaveh, we're going to ask on Rabbi. We asked on Rabbi from the following case. This guy is a very wordy, long-winded brisa. The question is from the number 1. There are 7 cases. It's a lot of words, and it's all on this itty-bitty card. Okay? I'm going to make it a little smaller so you can see all 7 at once. Guys, you can see, should I go closer, or this is good?
It's good. You can see. Yeah.
Okay. Number 1 made an Erev.
Scroll
Number
up
2.
just a little, Laser.
What?
Scroll up just a little.
It's not that important, Steve. It's more important to see the top. More important to see the top, Steve. Okay, look. I'm going to blow it up. We'll get to 5, 6, and 7 in a second. Okay? I just fussed it up. Okay. Now, number 1, there are 3 guys here. Number 1 made an Erev. Number 2 didn't make an Erev. Number 2 is mevatel to number 1. Abai is going to question Rabbi from here. If it's only 2 people, who's it? What do you mean? Who he made an Erev, he didn't make an Erev. So what do you mean? Who didn't he make an Erev with? If there's only 2 people, who didn't he make an Erev with? Ella, there must be a 3rd guy. And what does it say? This guy is only mevatel one of them, not both of them. That's the question on Rabbah. This first case right there is the question. We're going to see 7 more cases, but listen to the question. You, Rabbah, say you need to be mevatel to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in a scenario where there are 3 people and one of them didn't make an Erev. He only has to be mevatel to one of them. Kasha on Rabbah. Rabbah's going to say the other guy dropped dead. He died. Guys, you with me? You see, here's look at the top. He made an Erev. He didn't make an Erev. The arrow shows who's being mevatel to who, and here's the din. So when you have 3 people, 2 people made an Erev and 1 didn't. 1 can be mevatel to 1. He doesn't have to be mevatel to 2 people. It's a good bittul, and now he could use the rishus. Kashan Rabbah, who says you'd have to be mevatel to both of them. Answers Rabbah, as we're going to see, there is only one of them because the other guy died. Case number 2. Guys, I got to see you. Did you get that? That's the whole sugya. Did you get it? Everyone got it? That's the sugya. That's the sugya. Now, we're going to have 6 more cases. 6 more cases. Here we go. Case number 2. 3 people. 2 of them made an Erev. 1 of them didn't make an Erev. The 2 that made the Erev are mevatel to the 1 who didn't. Right? So now, how many people are ending up with the rishus? Uno. What's the din? Good Erev. Good Erev. Even though he didn't make it. But there's nothing to stop him. There's 1 rishus. There's nothing to stop him from carrying from his house to the chutzner. It works. 4 people. 2 made the Erev, 2 forgot. The 2 people who forgot, give it over to 2 people who made the Erev. 2 people made the Erev, it's considered 1 rishus for them. What's the halacha? It's good. Finally, number 4. No one made an Erev. No one. 3 people. No one made an Erev. 2 guys are Mavatal to 1. What's the din? It's good. Why? You're ending up with 1 Rishus, right? You're ending up with 1 Rishus. Guys are all good, right? Those four cases all work out because you're all ending up with 1 Rishus. Any questions? The final 3 scenarios are all no good. The final 3 scenarios are all no good. Let's see the final 3 scenarios. Okay? Here you go. 1 made an Erev, 1 did make an Erev. You're mevatel to either 2 people who didn't make an Erev according to Abaya. No good. Because the people who receive it in the end, the 2 people, they didn't make an Erev. 2 to 2, also no good. 2 people made the Erev, give it over to 2 people who didn't make an Erev. It's no good. Finally, no one made the Erev. 2 people give it over to 2 people. It's no good. The Gemara now is going to go back, question from number 1, and give the answer that we gave. What's the question on Rabbi for number 1? Obviously, 1 and 1 is not true. There's 2 people here. There's 2 people here. There's 2 people who made the Erev. And you only have to be mevatel to 1 of them. That's why it says only 1. Kasha and Rabbah. Rabbah's going to say there were 2, but 1 is not here anymore. Okay? Then the Gemara is going to go through every single scenario of these 7, saying what the chiddush of each one is. Okay? So I'm going to look at you for a second. We're going to do the Gemara we just did. And then when we go through each one for the chiddush, I'm going to go back to the page and we'll go over one by one. Okay? Guys, you hear the game plan?
Laser, you're going to explain why 2 is okay, but
I'm going to go through every single one.
Okay.
Every single one. Now, let's see Esive. Again, what's our format, guys? Rabbi says you have to be mevatel to each and every one. That's the given. Abai is questioning that. Hesh, you got a question? Esive. Echad sheloi irav. Can you run ayin amid aleph? Echad sheloi irav. 1 person does not make an erev. No same rishusay leechad she'erev. He gives a rishus to 1. That's case number 1. You know what? I'm gonna put it up and read along. Okay, you'll see it in front of you. Or else it's a bunch of words. So we just read number 1. Echad sheloi irav. He's mevatel to a person who made an erev. Shnayim she'ervu. 2 people who made an erev. Noisim rishusim leechad sheloi ervu. They give rishus to some person who didn't. Shnayim sheloi ervu. 2 didn't make an erev. Scenario number 3. They're mevatel. Noisim rishusim l'shnayim she'ervu to 2 who did. Oy leechad sheloi ervu. Or 2 people who didn't make an erev. They're mevatel to 1 person who didn't make an erev. In all those scenarios, what? It's good. It works. Why? Because you're ending up with 1 rishus. Good? That's why it works. Now, 5, 6, and 7. Avaloi echad she'erva noisim rishus leechad shle'erva. 1 who made an erev can't give over to 1 who didn't make an erev. Now, obviously, there's more than 1 person there, right? Or else, why can't you give it over to him, right? Guys, you hear? If it only ends up as 1 person, it should work. There's really 2 people. Next. The Ein Shnayim She'ervu, guys. Number 2 made an Erev. Be mevatel to 2 people who didn't. The Ein Shnayim She'ervu Nesem Mishus Shnayim Shlo Yervu. The Ein Shnayim Shlo Yervu Nesem Mishus Shnayim Shlo Yervu. 2 they make an Erev. Can't go over to 2 make an Erev. Because in the end, you're all ending up what? With 2 people. So it's 2 people who didn't make an Erev. It's not a good Rishus. That's the rule. If I didn't make an Erev, and we end up 2 separate owners and 1 property, the Gezerah of Chachamim, that I can't go from one Rishus to another, maybe I'll go from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim, is in effect. That's the Gemara.
So how does 3 work if the 2 who made the Erev is giving up to the 2 who didn't?
The 2 who didn't make the Erev are giving up to the 2 who did make the Erev. So now, since it's the Rishus of 2 people made an Erev, when 2 people make an Erev, it's like 1 Rishus, Steve.
And they're mevatel?
These two are mevatel.
Those
This
two are
is
mevatel.
bittel. This
Okay.
is the act of bittel. That line means bittel. These two are mevatel to them. So now, since it ends up in the hands of two people, but since they made an Erev, Steve, it's like one person. Therefore, it works. Masha Ein Kain, case number 6. The two people who made the Erev are giving it over to two people who did make the Erev. So it remains 2 separate Rishuyos. Geshmak? Clear. Okay. Now, question. Kitani Mihas Resha. Case number 1. Case number 1, guys. Case number 1. Kitani Mihas Resha. Echad Shaloi Eruv. One person who didn't make the Erev. Noisim Mishusoi Echad She'erev. Is giving it over to one person who did. Hey Chidami, what's this case? Idalek Achrina Bahadei. If there's no other person, there's only two people completely. Man Erev. What? Who? He didn't make an Erev with who? It's only one person. El Pshita de Ikachrina Bahadei. There must be another person with him. V'ketani le'echad she'irav. You only have to mevatel to one, not to two. That's the kasha on Rabbah. This whole long-winded brisa for this one line. And it's the first line. Rabbah, hachamayaskinan dehave umeis. There were two guys. This one guy, guys, put a 2 over here. When I'm putting the thing around, put a 2. But there's no longer 2. There's only 1. You know why? He died. Had he been alive, Rabbah says it wouldn't be a good Erev, because this person would have to be mevatel to 1 and 2. But 2 is no longer there. He's gone to the big Erev in the sky. He's not there anymore. He's finished. Okay? Fegdimara, Idahavi Umeis, Ema Sefer. I'll ask a question from the Sefer. Aval Ein, the Sefer is numbered here over here. Aval Ein Echad She'erev. Echad She'erev. One can't give to this, but 1 second. If the guy is dead, and there's only one, why not? Guys, the reason this doesn't work is because only one of these guys is giving up his reshus. The other one's not. Remember, we have a fictitious guy over here. According to Abaya, there's 2 over here, there's 2 over here. The reason this doesn't work is only one person who made the Erev is giving up his reshus. There's another person who did not give up his reshus. But according to Rabbah, that guy is no longer there. In this scenario, why is it no good? It's one person ending up with the reshus. It should work. It should be a good Erev. I think that last one is like a fastball, right? One more time. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chart, okay? I'm going back to the chart. Focus on these 2 cases, okay? This is going to work a shmak, guys. This is good. Watch. This case over here, there's really 2 people here. Because one-on-one is you didn't make an Erev, he made an Erev, the whole thing doesn't begin. So there's 2 people here. Says Abaye it's a raya. When there's 2 people, you only have to mevatel to 1 in order to make the mevatel your reshus. Says Rabbi, no, there's only one person because the other one died. Good. Question now, the Gemara is going to ask, if this Bryce is speaking where he died, this case also must be speaking where he died. Case number 5. Case number 5 also must be speaking where he died. What's case number 5? The one who made the Erev is giving it up to one who didn't. Why is it no good? Because there's another person over here. And that other person did not give up his reshus. So if you have 2 people and only one gave up his reshus, you have 2 reshuyos of it. It's no good. But 1 second, if you're telling me over here the guy died, it must be the number 2 over here also died, right? If the number 2 here also died, so why is it not a good Erev? It should be totally in his reshus. Says the Gemara, the area ha kedisa. Says the Gemara, let's see it inside. Ida having a mayis, if it's speaking where he died, Amos Seifa, case number 5. Aval ein echad she'iriv. Noisim reshusai le'echad sh'la'iriv. The one who made an Erev can't give over to the one who didn't. V'ida havi umayas. And if he was there and he was dead, am I right? Why can't he give it over? It should be a good Erev. El Pshita must be the Isya. It must be he's around over here. And that's why it's no good, because you don't have a total reshus of this fellow. So therefore, now, with the Sefer Isya, in case number 5, there's 2 people here. Reishanami Isya. In case number 1, there's also 2 people here. And nonetheless, he has to only be mevatel to him. Kasha on Rabbah. Back to the Kasha. And for the Gemara, be the area, who cares? Hakadisa, Hakadisa. Over here, there's 2 people. Over here, there's 1 person. Take that the cases are different. And there's all, what are we doing now? We're saying, even though it's one brisa, it can be speaking in different scenarios. The scenario over here, where we say 1 and 1, is speaking taka according to Rabbah 1 and 1. The scenario over here is speaking 2 and 1. And I'm going to prove it. Right. I'm going to prove it where? From the Tani Sefer de Reisha, case number 3. Guys, this is the Sefer of the Reisha. The Sefer of the Reisha, case number 3. 2 people who didn't make an Erev are saying, giving Bevatel Rishus to 2 people who did. As we told Steve, since it ends up in the hands of a person who made an Erev, it's good. Ushnayim shloi ivru, noisim shusim l'shnayim she'ivru. L'shnayim in, they can only give it over to 2. Le'echad loy. But, right? L'shnayim, they can give it over to 2, but they couldn't give it over to 1. Why? Because just like bittel, it's bittel, right? These 2 are being mevatel. They can be mevatel to 2, but they can't be mevatel to 1, right? That's a raya to Rabbah. That's a raya to Rabbah. 2 to 2, not 2 to 1. Why? Because Rabbah says when you mevatel, you have to be mevatel to everybody. 5, you have 5 guys in the chutzner, 1 guy has to be mevatel to all 4. You have 4 guys in the chutzner, 2 guys have to be mevatel to 2. Says Gemara, V'abaya Amar, me'echad lebeis. My lebeis, when it says lebeis to 2, le'echad mibeis, 1 of 2. It doesn't mean 2, it means 1 of 2. Yihachi listening le'echad she'erev. It should say 2 didn't make an erev, give over to 1 who did make an erev, or le'echad shelo yerev, or to 1 who didn't make an erev. So the Gemara says kasha. In fact, that would be a kasha. Are we breathing still? We're here. I lost somebody. I think Penny went to watch the Giants. I think Penny's gone. Guys, you good? Everyone's good. Okay. That chart is very helpful. That chart is, it's going to get more helpful in a second. It's going to get more helpful in a second. Steve, you'll be happy. I did you a favor. I initially had it on pencil.
I actually got all 7 on one page. It's the last picture on the WhatsApp. And
I got it all. I upgraded on make it deep black for you.
Beautiful.
Okay. Anyway, it's kasha abai. Now, the Gemara now, guys, is going to go through each case and tell us the chiddush of each case. In other words, let's go over the Gemara. We began by saying Rabbah says you have to mevatel to each and every one of them. Abaya asked from our chart, from case number 1, it's mashma you have to mevatel to what? To 1 and not 2. But he said it's speaking where he died. Now, after that, the Gemara went through all 7. The Gemara now is going to try to ask on each one, what's the chiddush of each one, okay? So I'll put the chart back up there. You could see it, and we'll go through each one. Okay, says the Gemara. Echad shlo erev noisim reshus echad she'erev. Case number 1. One person who didn't make an erev can give it over to the person who didn't make an erev. L'abaya, according to Abaya, it's to teach us that what there's a third person there. Again, there's a fictitious person over here, right? A real person, but you don't see him on the chart. And this is to teach me that Abaya, it's enough. Why did it only mention one? Because it's enough to give it over to one. You don't need two. That's his kash on Rabbah. It's enough to give it over to one. It's enough to give it over to one. L'Rabbah the Havimayas, and Rabbi in this case, the guy's dead. Guy's good. That's case number one. Next case number two. Ushnayim she'eruv. Noisnim rishus le'echet shle'eruv. Two that made an eruv can give it over to one. What's the chiddush? The pshita. Obviously, if you're ending it up in one person as the rishus, so of course he can carry. Why? It's only one person. Of course he can carry. So since this guy didn't make an eruv, he should gain. These guys are shayna mentioned, right? They're nice guys. Two guys that made the eruv, they're giving over to the guy who didn't make the eruv. Why did I say you were at shul? You were at fault. You didn't make the eruv. You should gain. Maybe not. Kamashma, no. Kamashma, we don't give a knas, and the guy taka has the rishus. That's scenario number two. Scenario number three, 2 to 2. 2 didn't make the eruv, giving it over to 2 who did. Now, what's the chiddush over here? According to Rabbi, it says over here, look, you have to give it over 2, not 1. So too over here, the guy died. Remember, Rabbi said, why does it say 2 to 2? It should say 2 to 1 should be enough. No, 1's not enough. You have to mevatel to everyone who made the eruv. And Kamash Malon, the Gluya ratio where this guy died, right? And Labaya, basically Ervu it's Tzrichalei. The Chiddush is to teach us that these two people didn't make the eruv, they could still go ahead and be mevatel. Guys, if we let two people who didn't make the eruv give it up, I might think they could receive. Two people who can't receive, case number 6, right? So the chiddush over here is, despite the fact they're able to mevatel, we're not worried that they're going to be the receiver, right? They can be a quarterback. They can go ahead and throw the ball. They can be mevatel. They can't receive it. That's the chiddush of case number 3. Case number 4, over here, what happens? No one made an eruv, so 2 can be mevatel to 1. Lamali, why do you have to tell me this chiddush? Apparently, this is not this is totally normal. It says the Gemara Tema. In all the previous cases, we have 1 made an eruv, 2 made an eruv, 2 made an eruv. Case number 4, no one made the eruv. So I'd say, if we let these guys go ahead and be mevatel, maybe we're going to do away with Torah's eruv in the first place. If we let plan number B, plan A, right? You may forget plan A. So Kamash Malon, that no. In the scenario, Kamash Malon will let it go. Guys, good? I don't get to see you. Guys, it's good, clear? This is a pretty good share, I have to admit. I'm saying it's I'm on my game. This is good, huh? Chaim? Yeah. Okay, it's good. Shimon, you good? Shimon, you're alive? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anyway, so let's get back to a share screen over here. It's schmack as anything. Now we're going to go through the final 3 that don't work, guys. We're going to go through the final 3 that don't work. Case 5, 6, and 7. Okay, now. One who made an eruv can't give over to one that didn't make the eruv. Labaya must be speaking 2 over here to tell me there's 2 in case number 1. And the Rabbi, I did Tani Reisha, Tani Nami Seifa. The only reason we learned this case is because of the first case. 2 to 2 doesn't work. Hasulamali, you already know that. 2 can't receive. Like Tzricha, the bottle lechad mine lechave. Again, this is case number, we began to share with this. 1 and 2 give it over to 3 and 4, and then 3 is mabatal to 4. 1 and 2 made an eruv, 3 and 4 didn't. 1 and 2 give it over to 3 and 4. Now 3 is mabatal to 4. So I might think I might think 4 has rishus. Kamash Malon, even the beidin the bottle, since at the time 1 and 2 gave it over 3 and 4, it wasn't good. Therefore you can't. Finally, no one made an eruv. It's no good. What's the chiddush? Like tzricha, the Amar. Again, what's the case? These 2 guys said to these 2 guys, "Kinei, receive it al manas that you should be kind of for yourself." Kamash Malon, that 1 and 2 who didn't make an Erev, who tell 3 could be kind of for 4, it doesn't work. Okay, that's the finish with the chart.
Laser, is this why the Lashon of the Erev includes everybody that may not have made it? Or
That's an Erev Tafshilin. That's an Erev Tafshilin.
Not Chatzar.
Yeah, that's an Erev Tafshilin. That's a different halacha. That's Erev Tafshilin is not even in Eruvin. It's the second parak of Beitza. It's a totally different thing. It's really a Shabbos Tikkadin. It's a Chana Shabbos Tikkadin. It's not a Eruvin Tikkadin at all.
And that Lashon only works once, right? It only works once, right?
Which one?
About if people didn't make the Erev, you can only rely on that for once, the Rovs.
Again, yeah, you shouldn't. If you do it more than once, it's a problem. If you do it more than once, it's a problem. But guys, we got the chart, right? The chart. The question was, let's just go over the main nakuda. Rabbi said you have 5 people in a chutzner. 1 forgets. He has to mevatel to 1, 2, 3, and 4. By a question from a brisa. The first case in the brisa was 1 to 1. One who didn't make an erev was mevatel to 1 who did make an erev. It can't be only 2 people. It's got to be 3 people. So it must be that 1 is mevatel to 1 of 2. If it's mevatel to 1 of 2, it's a kasha on Rabba. Says Rabba, no, there's only 1 because this one is nishta. He's not here. That's the main nakuda. And then we saw it. We went into the rest of it and we explained it as best we can. Okay. Final shaila. Rav Rav Nachman. Yoresh Moshe Yibatel Rishus. A Yoresh says Rashi in the bottom. Sheshakach Aviv V'Le'Eruv. His father forgot V'Le'Eruv and he didn't make an Eruv. Umeis b'Shabbos V'Le'Bitl Rishusai. Ma'aseh Yibatel Yoresh. The father forgot. The father dies. The son is there. Can the son go ahead and be mevatel? What's the studim of the shaila? Let's see Yomid Beis. Now, heicha di iboyla ruve me'etmol matzi ma'ariv betuli nami matzi mevatel. Only a person who has the capacity to make an eruv the day before can be mevatel on Shabbos. In other words, I could make the eruv, but I forgot. Now comes Shabbos, I can be mevatel because I had the capacity to make an eruv the day before. Aval hai, this son, kivin di iboyla ruve me'etmol matzi ma'ariv. Since it wasn't his yesterday, it belonged to daddy, or tati, or abba, whatever you want to call it. Papi. Right? It belongs to him, right? Therefore, he could make the Erev, so merely he can't be mevatel on Shabbos, right? Leimatzi mevatel, Dilma, Yorish kari davua, who the Yorish is considered part of the father, and therefore he's considered as if he could have made the Erev, and Memela, he could be mevatel. Amalei, so said Rav Nachman, Ani am mevatel. I said you could. Bahani debei Shmuel Tani ein mevatel, and the yeshiva of Shmuel says you can't. So I said you could be mevatel, and the yeshiva of Shmuel says you cannot be mevatel. Okay. Rav Nachman. Again, you Rav Nachman said that the Yorush can be mevatel. I'm going to ask on you. Zeh klal. Kol shem mutal mikzah Shabbos. Any chutzner that is permitted mikzah Shabbos. Hutul chol Shabbos is permitted the whole Shabbos, meaning if at some point in time the Erev gets messed up, it's still good because since it went into Shabbos good, it's still good. We'll see what this is in a second. V'chol shenesal l'mitzvah Shabbos, and anything that's usher at the beginning of Shabbos, nesal chol Shabbos is usher with the whole Shabbos, chutz mimevatel rishus, except bittul rishus. You went in, you didn't have an Erev because the guy forgot. On Shabbos, what? He's mevatel. It works. Now, going over the case, kol shehutel mitzvah Shabbos mutel chol Shabbos kigoin Erev derech haPesach v'nisnam haPesach. Look at me. You have 2 chatzeros guys that are side by side. They both go out into the Rishus Harabim. There's a wall in between, and you have a hole or a doorway in between. You make an Erev. You can go, this one big chutzah now. What happens if the wall caves in and no longer is it there, that hole? Are you able to throw back and forth? It's considered one rishus or not. Since when you went into Shabbos, it was mutal and mikzah Shabbos, hutal l'chala Shabbos. It's considered one chutzah, despite the inability to get over there because of the rock slide. It's still considered one chutzah. That's the example of kol shehutal l'mikzah Shabbos. It's hutal l'chala Shabbos. That's that example. Another case. Erev derech chaloin, v'nistam chaloin. There was a window in between, and it got closed off. Zeh kala suye. What does the klal come to include? Mavoi shenitlu kairoisa v'lechyav. You're all familiar with the halacha that a mavoi that became mutter al yedei a korah or a lechi, erev Shabbos. Now you're permitted to carry in the mavoi. Let's say the beam falls in or the lechi falls down. We said at the end of the first parak, you're still able to go ahead and carry. So that's what the rule comes to include. Any mavoi that was mutter mikzah Shabbos is mutter for the whole Shabbos. No, so far, no question whatsoever on Rav Nachman. What about the second rule, the second clause? Kol shenesa lemikzah Shabbos, nesa l'chol Shabbos. Anything that's asa for part of Shabbos is asa for the whole Shabbos. What is that? Kigoin, kula, kigoin, shnei botim, shnei tzidei rishus harabim, 2 houses on 2 shus harabim. Can you make an erev? No. Can you carry? No. V'kifu nachrim, mechitza b'Shabbos. Remember the case? The goyim came along and they closed it off. When they closed it off, guys, what's that called? Rishus hayachid. It's called the Rishus hayachid. You're not able to carry. Now, what lasuye mai? What does the rule come to include that it's us apart? Mai lasuye meis nachri b'Shabbos. In other words, the nachri you couldn't make an erev. Going into Shabbos, you couldn't make an erev, so it's us the whole Shabbos because you didn't rent from him, right? You didn't rent from him, so it's asa. He dropped dead in the middle of Shabbos. Can you carry in the chutzner? No. Why? Because since it was asa at the beginning of Shabbos, it's asa the whole Shabbos. Since it was asa at the beginning of Shabbos, it's asa the whole Shabbos. Ukitani chutz mimevatel b'shus. Except one exception. The person who's mevatel is rishus. Meaning, even though when you began Shabbos, it was usher, of course you didn't have an erev, because this guy forgot. This is the exception to the rule, because he and only he can be mevatel. What do you see? Who can be mevatel? Him. Who can't be mevatel? His son. Kashan Rav Nachman. Chutz mevatel b'shus, iyu in yairish loy. And for the Gemara, ema chutz mi toiras bitol b'shus. Don't say people, say the genre of bitol b'shus. Meaning, you don't make an erev. A guy forgot. He went into Shabbos. We don't apply the rule of since it's asa mikzas, it's asa the whole thing. Why? Because since there is a rule, a genre, if you will, of bittul b'shus, and we're not saying by who. According to Rav Nachman, not only could it be the person, but even if the person dies, it could even be the Irish. But we're not discussing the particulars. It means this would apply. Okay, we'll stop as Hashem over here. We'll see everyone tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, and thank you for listening.